All right. So, first of all, you only want to hollow your sculpture when it's had ample amount of time to be able to heal itself. You don't want like a really wet like neck or like a weak connection. And you really want to do this once you have all of your forms created. Of course, I don't have ears yet. I didn't get behind the jaw line for the transition of the neck how I would want to. And of course, I haven't added hair, but this was just sort of a random demonstration with no references anyway, so whatever. But normally, having all of those things done, you'll have to plot out, right, your best path for your cut. And a lot of times it's good to just like draw a little line. And so I think it's going to be smartest for me to be like about in the center. Okay. As it comes up the shoulder, I wouldn't want to cut through like the top of the trapezius. It would probably make more sense to cut where it's lower, right? Because like having a cut up here is going to make like where it's repaired look very, just be prominent. And so I'm going to kind of bring it here. Up the middle of the neck is really important, guys. You don't want to slice the neck really thin on any one side. So you want to make sure that you're coming up through the middle of the neck as good as possible. And let's just say I have my ear created here. So here's my ear. I would want to come up, and then I would try to divert my wire around the ear and then straight up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take a little piece of clay and put on a quick ear. Just for the sake of demonstration for you guys so you can see it. It's not going to be the best ear I've ever done in my life, but just so you guys can see it. Probably a little bit small, but there we go. Whatever. I'm going to put one on the other side just so we have it. Okay. And then you kind of want to follow the same path on the other side. All right, so I'll show you on the other side. And this line, you can just rub this line out really easily, so don't worry about putting a line there. Remember, I want to go down sort of lower. I don't want to come out of like that part that sticks up here on the shoulders. Middle of the neck, I don't want to be too far back and make the back of the neck really flimsy. Okay. And then I'm going to go around the ear and then straight up. Okay. And so there's my path. And now I just have to get the tool to do what I want it to do. Right, so first of all, with your string, okay, you want to hold it like as wide as you can. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll stand back. You want to hold it like wide like this, and then roll it up so you have good control with your thumbs. Okay, kind of like dental floss. If you guys, hopefully you guys use floss regularly. And so what I like to do is I like to take my sculpture and actually like sit it on top of my wire or my string and line it up. If you guys can see that, hopefully. Move it over here. Line it up so I pull it tight so it's straight, and line it up so it's lined up with my mark on both sides. Okay, and then I take it, see like I'll take my hands and I'll wrap my finger around. Now it's probably a little bit easier because I have these handles, but doesn't really matter. You guys with your string, same thing. You just hold it and then wrap your finger around like dental floss. So it's wrapped around your fingers. Okay, and then just pull up slowly. Some of, if your clay's gotten decently dry, this might require a little bit of force to pull up. Okay, but pull up slowly. Try to stay on the line and go a little bit at a time and check left and right. Check both sides. You want to come up through smoothly. And do your best to follow the line because the line was the best path for you. Now, I'm going up right now and I'm feeling that knife that I stuck in there. And sometimes you might just have to work yourself around your armature depending on how it's kind of lodged in there. But for me, I just kind of like, I went back down a little bit and came back up and it worked okay. So I think I'm past it. So now I get to the base of the ears and I'm gonna sort of wiggle my string to get it straight. And then I'm going to pull back around the ear. And then I'm going to come straight up. You can maybe take your string, wrap it around your finger like this, and then pull straight out of the top. If you want to hold the head like that, that works pretty good. Okay. So even though there's more clay over here on the face, that's okay. The main thing that we need to make sure that is good is the neck, right? We don't want one side of the neck to be very thin. And even though I had to do a little bit of wiggling with this, with the string because of the knife that's in there, no big deal. All of this, it's gonna get scored and slipped, and it can get put back together really nicely. And then pull it out. And there you go. So you have this chunk, and you have this chunk. All right, you can actually see that plastic knife that I put in there for the armature sitting right there. So pretty lucky is how I came up and scraped it. Looks like where I got caught up on it is just where the knife had like a little part that sticks out. So no big deal. And then, where did that, there we go. And then we carefully just kind of want to hold the face so we're not going to deform the features too much or anything. Again, about a 1/4 inch thickness is ideal. Although at the neck, guys, you want to make sure at the neck that you leave it a little bit thicker, because that's the one part that really tends to get a little bit weaker and carries a lot of the weight. And then 1/4 inch the whole way around. So I just like to give like a little, myself a little drawing, a little bit thicker in the neck, and even towards the bottom a little bit thicker just for stability. So I like to give myself a little drawing there, and then I just start to scoop. So I'll turn the tool over, or use anything really. And you just scoop all this good clay out. Now the nice thing is this clay is like really, really nice because it's been sitting in the center of your piece. It's been compacted nicely. It's remained moist this whole time. So really the sculpting that you do after this, I like to sculpt with the clay that I pull out. But keep this clay, wet and use it. Use it again. And so you guys know this process. I mean, it's the same thing that you did with the animal. All right, there we go. The armature's out. You will not need your armature anymore. That was just for a while. It was really, really floppy, flimsy. And so once you start digging to a decent depth, you should go in and start to feel how deep it is. And you can tell, like, squeeze the part that's a 1/4 inch and feel what that feels like. That's actually probably closer to 3/8. And then start to feel other parts, and you can tell where it's thicker and hopefully not thinner than a 1/4 inch, and where it's thicker than a 1/4 inch, you can go in and scoop out a little bit more. And then feel it again, but you really got to go off feel for your thicknesses. And again, leave the neck a little bit thicker. I mean, I only scooped out a little bit so far, and look at all the clay that I got. Okay, so we're really gonna lighten this thing up. And you go in and you feel how thick it is and where it's pretty thin. At my eye sockets, it's very thin. I don't wanna go any deeper there. Up in the forehead, it's a little bit thicker. I could take some more out, and down in the chin area, I could definitely get down there and get more out. And then at the bottom, maybe you want to leave the walls in the neck and the base a little bit thicker. But all of this clay here can come out. Okay, and feel it and take out parts that are too thin or too thick. If you have a part that's too thin, if you screw up a little bit and you pull out too much clay, take some of this clay and go back and repatch it and thicken it up and just blend it in with your finger. Okay, now's the time to do that. Okay, so that's a look at kind of how it should look like. It doesn't have to look perfect, right? Because this is going to be on the inside and nobody's going to see it anyway. The main thing is feeling it out. And try to do this process without deforming your features or anything. And if you do, no big deal. Put it back together, let it heal, and then you can work with it again. So same thing on this side. I like to just give myself a little guide. And then scoop. This will reduce the weight of your sculpture by a huge factor. And it'll start healing back together, and then you're really in a good position to get the small details done and have it work. If you don't do this, guys, a sculpture this thick is going to hold moisture and undoubtedly will break in the kiln. It's just too thick. The moisture would never have the ability to get out of a clay body that's that thick. So check with your fingers, your thicknesses. 1/4 inch thickness is what we want. Maybe a little bit thicker around the neck and in the base, of course. All this has to come out. Okay. All right, I'll end there for the sake of demonstration. And now I just want to show you guys quickly putting it back together. This is a serrated rib. If you don't have one of those, use a fork. And so you just are going to score all the surfaces that are going to connect. Really score them good in multiple directions. Take your time and use the highest level of craftsmanship. You know, whenever I'm demonstrating like this for you guys, I go a little bit faster. But no prize for going quickly. Take your time to do it cleanly. But the main thing is you really want that surface to get roughed up. Any inconsistencies in that surface to kind of get scored down a little bit so that you can go back in there and really make it nice when you connect them. Okay. And then I'm just gonna put slip all over the connection. Can't have too much slip because it's just going to ooze out when you push them together and then you just wipe it away. But if you don't have enough slip, you'll risk not having a tight connection in certain points. So always err on the side of using more. All right, so healthy amount of slip there, and then take the two halves and put them together kind of roughly first so you can work the connection. Okay. And then the same thing. So you want to make this connection tighter little by little with light pressure. Once it starts oozing out, then just take your finger and, you know, wipe away that excess. And at the same time, blending the connection a little bit, but you want to do this little by little, right? With light pressure, little by little. Okay. and then go back and pressure in again, and look at all the more slip that's coming out now. And again, it's sort of light pressure, guys. You don't want to push too hard. Sometimes you might even want to pick it up and get your hand on the inside to sort of form things or give yourself counter pressure. All right, and then just do your best to heal that connection. You know, one thing you can do if you want some pressure on the inside or something, you can reach up in, you know, and give a little support from the inside while trying to push two parts of it together. But once you do pressure and oozing and pressure and oozing and blending and pressure and oozing and blending, and it looks pretty good, then you just have to leave it heal for some time. So mine's getting there. I would probably do the same process a couple more times, or even, there we go. You can feel it when it tightens up tight. And then get it into position. Sometimes you might have to prop it into position while it's healing. So let's say my guy's leaning forward a little too much. Take a little chunk of clay, take some sort of a tool. I'll just use the fork for now, and put them into position like I want, and then just let it rest how I want it to stick.